and has about 27 years of experience in DRDO, Ministry of Defence, Bangalore. She is presently the Associate Director, Divisional Head of the Personnel and HR, and Chairperson of the Women's Cell. Dr. Latha holds a PhD engineering degree from the Aerospace Engineering Department, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. She has won many awards and is the recipient of the Agni Award for Excellence in Self-Reliance, DRDO Technical Award, and the Best Technical Paper Awards. She has a patent in her name, and apart from publishing a technical book, which is now available on Amazon, she has more than 35 publications in international journals and conferences. Her recent book, When the Flame Flickers, Emerging from Marital Abuse, is under print. She is also registering her PhD with the Criminology Department of Madras University, as she is working on women and child abuse. I now request Dr. Latha Christie to share her views with the audience.
Commissioner of Police, Shri M. Reddi, MPs, and Madam Sharanya Hegde, with whom I am more than 9 years related and I am indebted, and Madam Jyoti Bandari, and Father George, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to every one of you. The father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, once said that if we are to teach real peace in this world, we have to begin with the children. I would like to start by saying that child abuse threatens this global peace and violates the trust at the core of a child's relationship with the world. A study conducted by the US Department of Justice indicated that being abused or neglected as a child increased the likelihood of arrest as a juvenile by 59%, as an adult criminal by 28%, and for violent crimes by 30%. Also, the report says that many men and women in prison were abused as children. Robin Carmo's, author of Ghost from the Nursery, says that children are now the fastest growing segment of the criminal population, and with the statistics, 1 in 20 babies born today will spend most of their lives, at least little part of their lives, in jail. What about our country? Did you know that India ranks second among the top 5 countries with the highest rates of child abuse, as per the survey conducted by the International Business Times, February 2014. It also says India has seen an increase of 366% of child rape cases from 2001 to 2011. And imagine, in just 10 years, 48,338 children getting raped. As per the National Study of Child Abuse carried out by the Indian government in 2007, nearly 12,500 children they have carried out this study. 53% of children, boys and girls equally, were victims of sexual abuse. The study also found 69% of children reported physical abuse, and the children who were physically abused in family situations, among them 89% were abused by parents. With such a huge statistics, can India afford to remain in denial? Child abuse is a mammoth issue and is very critical and directly linked to the future of our nation. Studies about early childhood development indicates that brain develops at an incredible pace during the early stages of infancy, and its development is directly related to the quality and the quantity of experiences with family and community. Repeated exposure to stressful events can affect the brain's functioning. However, if these such childhood stresses can be identified, we might be able to provide early intervention and undertake protective measures that would reduce the risk. With this intention, a study was conducted in US called the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, designated as ACE. It's one of the largest scientific research studies of its kind, tested on over 17,500 diverse middle-class Americans. The initial surveys began in 1995 and continued for 10 to 15 years. And by 2005-2006, The information revealed by the studies was mind-boggling and shocking to many. It demonstrated that these experiences are very common, and there was a direct link between this childhood trauma and adult onset of chronic illness, mental illness, being jailed, and work issues like absenteeism. Childhood trauma covers a wide spectrum, and hence if you see 10 categories of adverse childhood experiences were studied, namely childhood physical abuse, emotional and sexual abuse, domestic violence, death of a parent, alcoholic or a drug addict at the home, a household member who is imprisoned, mentally ill or suicidal, and physical and emotional neglect. Exposure to one category of adverse childhood experience qualifies as 1 point. A score of 0 would mean that the person reported faced no exposure, while a score of 10 would mean that the person reported was exposed to all the categories. It was found that if the A score is 4 or more, the person is 4.5 times more likely to be depressed, 5 times more likely to struggle with alcoholism, 12 times more likely to attempt suicide, and 13 times more likely to be an intravenous drug user. If you see as many as 2/3 of people in drug and alcohol treatment programs reported being abused as children. Also, the study says 1/3 of abused children will later become perpetrators or victims of abuse within the walls of their very own home, continuing the horrible cycle of abuse. This is called intergenerational cycle of violence, which I have addressed in my book, When the Flame Flickers. Domestic violence has a horrible impact on children, as it is marked by consistent and progressive stress. The alternating battering and calm phases result in a tense child ever expecting violence in home. In such homes, physical child abuse also occurs, as 50% of men who batter their wives also batter their children. Such children even fall to incest. Later they learn violence as the only way to control others in their life and become either perpetrators or victims of abuse. Take the case of young David. He was exposed to violence as a baby. When his mom was beaten by his dad, black and blue, he and his siblings used to hide themselves, waiting for the violence to stop. But the violence never stopped till David left the house. He suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, where he could still hear his mother's screams and could visualize the terror surrounding the room. When he became a man, he realized that he and all his siblings have been affected in some way or the other, and he too has become abusive, just like his dad, and his children are suffering just as he suffered. The A study also showed that early stress is a strong factor for developing cardiovascular disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, weight gain, bone loss, etc. But why are the effects of childhood trauma so serious? This is because when effects of this childhood trauma, when such childhood trauma occurs at such a tender age, it's a brain injury. It's almost equivalent to that. Breakthroughs in neurobiology demonstrate that a fear-based childhood disrupts neurodevelopment and can actually alter normal brain structure and function, which is why childhood trauma has much effect on the behavior, on the whole way the brain operates later in life. We can see in this figure the effect of an extreme neglect and abandonment on the brain of a 3-year-old child. When children face traumatic experiences, the brain finds it very difficult to regulate emotions like rage, terror, and fear. Children usually learn to regulate their emotions by co-regulating a calm, regulated parent or teacher. But without such support, they find it difficult in coping with the trauma, and they choose to self-regulate it by making noises or by annoying others so that they can get attraction. If the silence and indifference of the world still continues, the child goes from being annoyed to a bully, and in adolescence and later in life starts drinking, abusing drugs, and he beats up his spouse because he cannot control his rage, and finally he attempts suicide because he cannot find comfort in any relationships. All these events probably started before resource. When suicide prevention is discussed, the most important question to be asked is what happened in your childhood. 90% of the women who have attempted suicide have suffered from severe sexual abuse or childhood abuse sometimes in their life. Thus, the prevalence of adverse childhood experience and their long-term effects are clearly a major determinant of the health and social well-being of a nation. I would like to stress this point by sharing the story of Anna, which is narrated by her own father. This is Anna as a baby. And then the next figure shows Anna. Next figure. This is Anna as a baby. I didn't put the figure. And Anna became beautiful at age 20, and she had lots of artistic talents. If you see, she has made all these figures. But at the age of 35, she ended up in mental asylum. Why did this happen? She had a wonderful set of family with wonderful parents, 2 brothers and sisters. But what happened to her? At less than 3 years old, during her early developmental stage, Anna was sexually abused. The abuse was severe, sadistic, perpetrated by a trusted caregiver, and it continued for almost 4 years. None of the family members were aware of it, and Anna felt that no one bothered about what was happening to her. When she attempted to communicate about the awful things happening to her, nobody was there to listen, to understand, or to help her. Finally, at age 13, Anna broke down, and she was diagnosed schizophrenic, and at age 15, she was into psychiatric treatment. Again, no one in psychiatric services asked about or recognized what happened to Anna. Although she seriously suffered from PTSD and requested help for her trauma, she was never seriously assessed or treated for trauma. She was continually misdiagnosed and considered to be chronically mentally ill. And on October 24, 1992, at the age of 32, she took her life on the backyard. See, her artworks portrayed a sense of helplessness, powerlessness, shame, guilt, being bad. All these things drove her to end her life. There are many others whose stories are similar in many ways to Anna. Though the lives of most of them do not end like Anna, the impacts of childhood trauma, if not recognized, can be severe. Finally, I would like to end my talk by stressing upon 2 points that can help in preventing child abuse. The first one is, while you are disciplining your children, never use spanking. A spanking is sanctioned physical violence against children. Children learn by imitation. They have nothing else to go on but their own experiences. Their bodies learn by what they have experienced physically, mentally, and emotionally. Battered, injured children will learn to batter and injure others and will try to exercise such violence, possibly on a gigantic scale. Every dictator torments his people. Either he was born with destructive drives, like every child, Hitler was born innocent, only to be raised in a destructive manner. Adolf Hitler's father, Alois, was an illegitimate child, which was a source of unbearable shame to him. He went to spend the imprisonment on young Adolf through the forms of regular, merciless floggings. Once Hitler told his secretary that during one of the regular beatings, he was able to stop crying, to feel nothing, and to just count the blows, the 32 blows he received. Like this, to totally deny his pain, his feelings of powerlessness and despair, Hitler made himself into a master of violence through his merciless destructive acts. Like Hitler, Stalin was exposed to immense brutality as a child and had no one to turn to. His irascible father was almost always drunk, and he laid on to his son from an early age. Despite the fame and power Stalin received, he suffered throughout his life from a persecution mania that drove him to order the killing of millions of innocent people. Just as the infant Stalin lived in fear of sudden death, so the adult Stalin lived in fear of his closest associate, and now he had the power to fend off those fears by humiliating others. Such examples are endless. The rage suppressed in childhood is transformed into murderous hate. After listening to this, can we still go on believing and asserting that one can bring up children and and will not be able to do it without a few blows, slaps, and smacks, I firmly believe that we should reject all forms of domestic violence, including spanking. The final point, the second point I would like to make is about change. If we could change in just one generation from a society where smoking cigarettes was the mark of sophistication and glamour to that of taboo, then surely we can change a society where child abuse and neglect is glaringly high and yet treated with indifference. We need to change the way we treat children. We need to change, and we have to treat them with respect. And this ultimately will change our behavior towards children. And though recently we have brought about a major reform process in child protection policy, but still, again and again, many children are getting abused. Why? What is going on? It's because as a society we are not preventative in nature. It is because we respond to the allegation and react. We are the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff that takes the bodies away, not the bridge builders at the top of the cliff that stop the children from falling over. Though it is sad to know that thousands of children are abused each year, it is still sadder that when we just avoid the red flag that is coming. The red flag that becomes synonymous with danger. I charge you to do this one final thing, to try to see the red flags. Trust that little voice within you that tells something is going wrong in my child. Because if you don't trust your instincts and do not see them, then you cannot act on them. As a society, we see evidence of our failure to act upon red flags in many recent child abuse cases. It's very important how we react when red flags come into our field of vision. Faye was showered by a sexual molester who showed more interest in them and wanted to spend more time with them than the parents did, should be shown as a glaring red flag for the parents. We live in a world. Let us trust those feelings and watch for these signs. Let us never be shamed by the stigma and remain silent. I just encourage each and every one of you to break the